power to share.
And the key to keeping all these new people engaged
More open and connected.
was Facebook's most important feature,
Newsfeed.
Newsfeed, the seemingly endless stream of stories, pictures, and updates shared by friends, advertisers, and others.
It analyzes all the information available to each user, and it actually computes what's going to be the most interesting piece of information, then publishes a little story for them.
It's your personalized newspaper. It's the New York Times of you, Channel U. It is, your customized, optimized vision on the world.
But what appeared in users' newsfeed wasn't random. It was driven by a secret mathematical formula, an algorithm.
The stories are ranked in terms of what's going to be the most important, and we design a lot of algorithms so we can produce interesting content for you.
The goal of the newsfeed is to provide you, the user, with the content on Facebook that you most want to see. It is designed to make you want to keep scrolling, keep looking, keep liking.
That's the key. That's the secret sauce. That's why we're worth X billion dollars.
The addition of the new like button in 2009 allowed Newsfeed to collect vast amounts of users' personal data that would prove invaluable to Facebook.
At the time, we were a little bit skeptical about the like button. We were concerned. And as it turned out, our intuition was just dead wrong. And what we found was that the like button acted as a social lubricant. And of course, it was also driving this flywheel of engagement, that people felt like they were heard on the platform whenever they shared something.
Connect to it by liking it.
And it became a driving force for the product.
It was incredibly important because it allowed us to understand who are the people that you care more about, that cause you to react, and who are the businesses, the pages, the other interests on Facebook that are important to you. And that gave us a degree of constantly increasing understanding about people.
Newsfeed got off to a bit of a rocky start, and now our users love Newsfeed. They love it.
Newsfeed's exponential growth was spurred on by the fact that existing laws didn't hold internet companies liable for all the content being posted on their sites.
So Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act is the provision which allows the internet economy to grow and thrive. And Facebook is one of the principal beneficiaries of this provision. It says, don't hold this internet company responsible if some idiot says something violent on the site. Don't hold the internet company responsible if somebody publishes something that creates conflict, that violates the law. It's the quintessential provision that allows them to say, don't blame us.
So it was up to Facebook to make the rules. And inside the company, they made a fateful decision.
We took a very libertarian perspective here. We allowed people to speak. And we said, if you're going to incite violence, that's clearly out of bounds. We're going to kick you off immediately. But we're going to allow people to go right up to the edge. And we're going to allow other people to respond. We had to set up some ground rules, basic decency, no nudity and no violent or hateful speech. And after that, we felt some reluctance to interpose our value system on this worldwide community that was growing.
Was there not a concern then that it could become sort of a place of just utter confusion, that you have lies that are given the same weight as truths, and that it kind of just becomes a place where truth becomes completely obfuscated?
No. We relied on what we thought were the public's common sense and common decency to police the site.
That approach would soon contribute to real-world consequences, far from Silicon Valley, where Mark Zuckerberg's optimistic vision at first seemed to be playing out. The Arab Spring had come to Egypt. It took hold with the help of a Facebook page protesting abuses by the regime of Hosni Mubarak.
Not that I was thinking that this Facebook page was going to be effective. I just did not want to look back and say that happened and I just didn't do anything about it.
At the time, Wael Ghonim was working for Google in the Middle East.
In just 3 days, over 100,000 people joined the page. Throughout the next few months, the page was growing until what happened in Tunisia.
Events in Tunisia have captured the attention of viewers around the world, and a lot of it was happening online.
It took just 28 days to the fall of the regime.
And it just created, for me, a moment of maybe we can do this. And I just posted an event calling for a revolution in 10 days. Like, we should all get to the street and we should all bring down Mubarak.
Organized by a group of online activists.
We're calling it the Facebook revolution.
Within days, Ghanem's online cry had helped fill the streets of Cairo with hundreds of thousands of protesters. 18 days later,
President Mohammed Hosni Mubarak has decided to step down.
They have truly achieved the unimaginable.
It's generally acknowledged that Ghanem's Facebook page first sparked the protests.
There was a moment that you were being interviewed on CNN.
Yeah, I remember that.
First Tunisia, now Egypt. What's next?
Ask Facebook.
Ask what?
Facebook.
Facebook.
The technology was, for me, the enabler. I would not have been able to engage with others. I would not have been able to propagate my ideas to others without social media, without Facebook.
You're giving Facebook a lot of credit for this.
Yeah, for sure. I want to meet Mark Zuckerberg one day and thank him, actually.
Had you ever think that this could have an impact on revolution?
You know, my own opinion is that it would be extremely arrogant for any specific technology company to claim any meaningful role in those. But I do think that the overall trend that's at play here, which is people being able to share what they want with the people who they want, is an extremely powerful thing, right? And we're kind of fundamentally rewiring the world from the ground up, and it starts with people.
They were relatively restrained externally about taking credit for it, but internally they were, I would say, very happy to take credit for the idea that social media is being used to affect democratic change.
Activists and civil society leaders would just come up to me and say, you know, wow, we couldn't have done this without you guys. Government officials, you know, would say, does Facebook really realize how much you guys are changing our societies?
It felt like Facebook had extraordinary power, and power for good.
But while Facebook was enjoying its moment, back in Egypt, on the ground and on Facebook, the situation was unraveling.
Following the revolution, things went into a much worse direction than what we have anticipated.
There's a complete split between the civil community and those who are calling for an Islamic state.
What was happening in Egypt was polarization.
Deadly clashes between Christians and military police.
The Brotherhood cannot rule this country.
And all these voices started to clash. And the environment on social media breeded that kind of clash, like that polarization, rewarded it.
When the Arab Spring happened, I know that a lot of people in Silicon Valley thought our technologies helped bring freedom to people, which was true. But there's a twist to this, which is Facebook's newsfeed algorithm.
If you increase the tone of your posts against your opponents, you're going to get more distribution. Because we tend to be more tribal, so if I call my opponents names, my tribe is happy and celebrating. Yes, do it, like, comment, share. So more people end up seeing it because the algorithm is going to say, oh, okay, that's engaging content. People like it. Show it to more people.
There were also other groups of thugs who followed the pattern of sectarian violence.
The hardest part for me was seeing the tool that brought us together, tearing us apart. These tools are just enablers for whomever. They don't separate between what's good and bad. They just look at engagement metrics.
Ghanem himself became a victim of those metrics.
There was a page, it had like hundreds of thousands of followers. All what it did was creating fake statements. And I was a victim of that page. They wrote statements about me insulting the army, which puts me at serious risk because that is not something I said. I was extremely naive in a way I don't like actually now, thinking that these are liberating tools. It's the spread of misinformation, fake news in Egypt in 2011.
He says he later talked to people he knew at Facebook and other companies about what was going on.
I tried to talk to people who are in Silicon Valley, but I feel like it was not being heard.
What were you trying to express to people in Silicon Valley at the time?
It's very serious. Whatever that you are building has massive, serious, unintended consequences on the lives of people on this planet. And you are not investing enough in trying to make sure that what you are building does not go in the wrong way. And it's very hard to be in their position. No matter how they try and move and change things, there will be always unintended consequences.
Activists in my region were on the front lines of, spotting corners of Facebook that the rest of the world, the rest of the company wasn't yet talking about. Because in a company that's built off numbers and metrics and measurements, anecdotes sometimes got lost along the way. And that was always a real challenge and always bothered me.
Elizabeth Linder, Facebook's representative in the region at the time, was also hearing warnings from government officials.
So many country representatives were expressing to me a huge concern about the ability of rumors to spread on Facebook and what do you do about that.
How did you respond to that at the time?
We didn't have a solution for it. And so the best that I could do is report back to headquarters that this is something that I was hearing on the ground.
And what sort of response would you get from headquarters?
It's impossible to be specific about that because it was always just kind of this is what I'm hearing, this is what's going on. But I think in a company where the people that could have actually, had an impact on making those decisions are not necessarily seen it firsthand.
I think everything that happened after the Arab Spring should have been a warning sign to Facebook.